draft day, Kurt. It's draft day.
A big day. Lots of rumors flying.
Lot of rumors flying. And we'll get into the biggest rumor, I guess, right off the bat that has come out today. Aaron Rodgers wants out of Green Bay, Kurt.
I want to say that came out of nowhere, but I feel like that's been talked about for a while now, but just with a little seriousness to it now. He actually apparently voiced his displeasure. He was disgruntled, so they say, with the Packers.
Yeah, I don't know. They're a good team, right? They're just every year they seem to kind of come up short, like shorter than they really should, because they're a top 5 team in the NFL.
I think we gotta go back to last year. Like, it's almost disrespectful that you don't surround him with a good wide receiver, some more weapons, and you draft a backup quarterback when you're a contender. You had obvious flaws and you made no attempt to cover them, to improve as a roster. So, like, obviously that's not going to create a very happy situation for Rodgers. So I don't blame him, because if you're going to show up to the draft, pick his backup for the future, basically say, well, we're planning for when you leave, not going to help you, and then lose in what was it, the conference finals, like a championship game, I guess it would be.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't blame the guy.
Yeah, it's just I don't know where the GM came out today and said there's a 0% chance that he's going to get traded. I mean, there's obviously going to be a lot of buyers in on him. You know, he's obviously still top 3 quarterback in the world. Like, he's still that good.
Yeah, he's the reigning MVP.
Yeah, exactly. So not every day does a player like this come available, possibly by trade. I did read that the 49ers called the Packers about him. I'm assuming probably the 3rd overall pick would have been in play if the Packers did want to trade him, which would be a pretty good return. I mean, if you were to trade Aaron Rodgers, a 3rd overall pick is pretty sweet to get coming back the other way, eh?
Well, it would be more. I would have to think it would probably be,
oh yeah,
at least 2 or 3 firsts. So this one, probably the next 2 years, or next year another second, and Jimmy G.
Yeah.
For that's, if the 49ers were to make that deal, that's probably what you're looking at, which I think is close to what they offered. I know Jimmy G was involved in it, but I also just saw 49ers, Raiders, and Broncos are the rumored teams in on him.
49ers, Raiders. Yeah, Broncos, yeah.
It makes sense for those teams. I wouldn't call it none of them are really contenders, but I'm trying to picture what those rosters with, because they all have a similar issue, obviously, at the quarterback position. So if you implement Rodgers into those schemes, those rosters, they're all playoff teams probably, right? But the problem is 2 of them are in the same division as the Chiefs. So you're already, I don't know, you're probably
it's an
not
uphill battle.
You're not as good as the Chiefs still, most likely. So you're a wild card team. And then, so I don't know. That's a tough one. I would rather see him go to the AFC, obviously, as a Bucs fan. That's just one less team that I have to worry about, because we had to go through them on our Super Bowl route. I think if he went to the AFC, the NFC is a lot easier, that's for sure.
What about the Bears? Or do you think that's totally out of the question to trade him within your own division?
Yeah, I don't think you can trade him within division.
Yeah.
That's, you won't hear the end of that, especially if you have to play him that many times each year. You can't do that.
I mean, him on the Bears would be pretty sweet.
It's kind of, yeah, I like it. I would love just that rivalry too, right? Imagine him coming back to Lambeau as a Bear, but there's
Mm-hmm.
not a chance that happens. The fans would never forgive you for that. But it's kind of crazy. We've seen so now Deshaun Watson, obviously before all the legal stuff, and now Aaron Rodgers. That quality caliber of quarterback does not come available too often. And there's been two top three, top five quarterbacks now this offseason that have been available, or at least requested trades, it sounds like.
Yeah, I mean, it's so weird. Like, it's not, I guess, weird. I guess the NBA is kind of like leading this charge of like player, whatever you want to call it, empowerment, where like they just, I want to leave and that's that, and you're gonna move me, and like it's very backwards from how it's normally been. Um, but hey, when you're as good as Aaron Rodgers and you make it known that you want out, it's going to be hard for the Packers. Like there's going to be a trade that comes up that the Packers look at and go, like Rodgers is good, but we can't pass on that.
Yeah.
Um, like Brian Burke always said, like um, to his top players, I'm not looking to trade you, but if somebody offers me 10 first round picks tomorrow, you're gone. Right? It's like everybody's tradable
It's true.
at the end of the day.
I always say, if Gretzky got traded, anyone can get traded, right? There's a price point for everyone.
Yeah, exactly.
So
Exactly. Um, so we'll see. I mean, it's very early. It's developing still. Um, new details kind of coming out by the minute. But I saw this other story today, which was kind of weird. Tim Tebow uh, wants to be a tight end now, I guess. It's so off the wall that he's just like, oh, I'll play. Because he said that when he went to baseball, that he would not play football again unless he was a quarterback. Mm, you going back on that
apparently,
now,
yeah.
Timmy Teams?
Yeah. And apparently, I think the tweet was there was actually some talk about him signing. Like this,
Really?
apparently this carries a little bit of weight to it. Wow, Trevor Lawrence not even drafted yet, already looking over his shoulder in competition. I'm just I'm just kidding, obviously, but like I'm kind of just this really caught me off guard today. I was like, no way, this is a joke. This can't be real. I'm watching NFL live and I see like the tweet comes up and I'm like, oh, that's funny. Like they must have just put that there and they were dead serious. And I think it was Mike Robb, which is losing it. He was losing his mind. Said, that's it. I'm going to train. If he can get a roster spot, so can I.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, he's a freak athlete, obviously. He can play any position he probably wants to. Yeah, so like I was just talking to somebody yesterday about how like there's some quarterbacks that are just so good in college, even Heisman winners that just like don't, make it in the NFL. That just doesn't work out. Like we talked about Johnny Manziel and then we talked about Tim Tebow and we said how the Gators team that he played on in college was just a complete shit show. Like you
Oh,
had Aaron Hernandez, the murderer, on the same team as like the most godly man to ever play in the NFL and Tim Tebow. Like it was
but
just
the
so wildly different.
no, the whole roster. If you look at you had the Pouncey twins, I think it was Malcolm Jenkins, and then Riley Cooper. Like just so many different incidents. If you go look up the roster and what happened and all the incidents of what they were like charged for or what they did, it's hilarious to all think that they were led by their religious quarterback Tim
Yeah.
Tebow. Like it
Like,
just even Urban Meyer is the coach too. Like the
yeah.
whole thing is hilarious. Like
Like
it's
you
for
had just a criminal enterprise.
yeah.
And then just like, the
I like
preacher and Tim Tebow.
for all the listeners, I got it. Like you guys have to go look up this roster and just actually just type it into Google, that Florida Gators roster, and just look at the history of what those players did. And all
Yeah.
like we said, all led by super religious quarterback Tim Tebow. It's too funny. It's too funny.
It's just like so ironic that
Yeah.
that's how their quarterback was. Like you
I
would
think
expect like the most just like hard guy who just like is up to trouble all the time. Nah, you
no.
got Timmy.
Yeah.
But
that's what makes the story so great. But yeah, definitely recommend Googling that and looking at that roster.
oh my god, yeah, it's great. Um, so who again? This is an early kind of developing story. It'd be interesting to see if he signs. Like if he was to sign, see how he does as a tight end. But he's not that tall, is he? Like as far as a tight end goes,
Yeah,
like I think
that's
he's
I don't know.
six
Yeah,
three
I'd probably
maybe.
say is he even that? Like I know like he's not small, but yeah, the way the tight end position's kind of developed here, I guess like his with his athleticism, he could do it. But I wouldn't like I'm trying to think, would he be undersized? He's probably he'd be on smaller half of tight ends, but like the elite tier of tight ends are kind of like athletic freaks. Like they're
Right.
huge with that crazy now athletic ability. They run like wide receivers.
Like
So
he's
I
a
just
6'2", 236. Um, he'd be a good fullback, but nobody really uses fullbacks anymore.
yeah,
So
but yeah, like that doesn't really strike me as the new modern day elite tight end build.
he only played 3 years in the NFL.
Yeah,
Wow. I thought he played longer. I just assumed he played longer.
no,
Um, one year he had his best year. He had 1,700 yards,
wow.
uh, 12
I
touchdowns.
honestly, I think I could throw 1,700 yards.
Yeah. Could you? All right. Let's
No,
see. Okay. So if
I
you're
was kidding.
playing, let's say you coach comes up to you and says, Kurt, you're in at quarterback. Um, let's just see what you can do. What does your stat line look like at the end of the night?
You remember that quarterback who came in for the Broncos this year? He
Yeah,
was like, oh, he never made a pass. That would be me. Like, I
that'd be
wouldn't
you.
complete it. Yeah, that totally, I actually worse. It'd be worse.
I would, I think mine, I would throw, I would throw minimum 9 interceptions.
Like in the first half.
We would lose 75-0. Um, I would have like one complete pass and it'd be like a screen pass to like my tight end
He
and
just
that'd
gets
be it.
blown up behind the line.
Yeah. Like I throw it behind him. They just gets fucking crushed.
What's
I would get sacked so many times because I just like wouldn't be able to read where the pressure's coming from. I'd be standing in the pocket
uh,
and they'd be like, okay, throw it. Like now throw it. Please get rid of it. And then I would have CTE right after that game. I would be I'd be a vegetable. That's what I would be after that game. I'd be a
another
vegetable with nine interceptions.
another thing that people always say they can do it like is kick a field goal. And I'm gonna say this now. I totally couldn't. I would not be able to,
No
not
way.
even close. I don't
No
even
way.
care 20 yards, not even close. I'm not coming close to it.
No, I would shank that ball so hard. Like I there's no way. Like no. I honestly don't think like I don't think in practice I could make a field goal. I
No,
really
yeah.
don't. I'm
I
terrible at kicking.
I can't even do it at my local soccer field. There's no way I could do it out on
No.
an NFL field.
Or like some people they're like they think like, "Oh, if I was a running back, I could like some people are like I could get like 50 yards in a game." And you're like, "Are you
No,
insane?"
you absolutely couldn't.
Like the first time you touched the ball, you would have a broken collarbone. You'd be out for the rest of the game. Like
Yeah.
they hit so hard, you'd be like, "Can I go home?"
Is
Like,
is there a sport? Okay, this answer I feel like should be really, really easy, but I'm gonna
okay.
ask it. Is there one sport you could play professionally and you would be like you wouldn't get embarrassed, I get. Like you could produce on some sort of stat line.
Uh no.
It should
Um
it should be easy, I feel like. I'm not
one
saying it has
prof-
to, and so I'm not saying it has to be like a good stat line, but you're telling me right now you couldn't at least play one hole on a course. Like you might have a terrible
oh,
round. Like there's no way that's the only sport I can think of. It might could be the best hole of your life, but you probably even go two over on these like whatever courses, right? But that's probably the
right.
only sport just because you can control it at least. But
I think I could play Or the other one I think you could play is I think you could play hockey and you could do one shift, like just one shift, and it might be the best shift of your life and not get completely embarrassed. You could just hang
No,
out,
not a
get
chance.
the get the
No,
puck and just like pass it, immediately pass it. You never actually have the puck. You're just shoveling it out.
I just want to go on. I want to go sub in on a basketball game. Just take 1-3 and then get subbed out.
Dude. Okay. So we played a couple years ago. We had a bunch of guys from high school and um we played 5-on-5, like a full game, like 48-minute game. And I think the final score was like, I don't know, 102 to like 87 or something like that. And I'm like practicing before the game. I'm like, I'm feeling real good right now. I'm like, I'm feeling like I could do this. Now, granted, this is a very small court. Like it's small court when there's 10 guys out there. Like you have no room.
Okay.
Dude, I had 1 point in the game. 1 point. I went, I was like 0 for, I was at least like 0 for 9, and I had one free throw.
I would so do like a hack a tucker and send you to the line each time.
Yeah.
That's what I would do.
I
And
mean,
defend
I'll
you. I
probably
just
shoot from, I'll probably shoot like 50% from the line.
oh
Probably
really?
what I shoot.
50%?
50%. Yeah. I mean, okay. What sport do you think you get embarrassed in like the quickest? Like if you
Oh,
had to go play, like which sport are you like, oh, this is rough?
like I grew up playing baseball. I don't care. You could stick me in the batter's box and it would be horrific.
Yeah.
Like I would look worse than any actual like any pitcher trying to stay in the box. I would look worse than them.
But
Like
you
it
know
would
what
be
I said? I said
horrific.
this like last week. I said, baseball is a one sport that people don't know how bad you are until you swing the bat.
Yeah. Well,
Like if
it's
you
the
just
hard.
don't swing the bat, they could be like, he's pretty good. You know?
That's true. As soon
Like
as
like
as soon as
honestly, if you just stand
shoulder.
in there, you're like, take that. And they're like, okay, he's selective. All right, I like
Uh
this. Maybe you get a ball, you're like, God, this guy's got a good eye. And then the moment you take that bat off your shoulders, you're like, oh, this guy's dog shit at this sport.
actually that's what I would do. I'd go up there, I'd be like, he throws the first one and say, oh, I'm just gonna take it, gotta see what he's got. Next one, sorry, I thought that was outside. Next one throws me a breaking ball. You know what? Thought that was low. A good walk
Yeah.
back to the bench. You know, I really didn't agree. That was definitely outside. Just trying to.
They could go, the pitcher could throw 3 fastballs right down the pipe. And then coach would be like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm just trying to get his pitch count up.
I'm just trying to work the count, coach.
I'm just trying not to ground out on the first pitch. You know what I mean? Hey, next man up. You know what I mean? That's how I play.
They're trying to get
Um,
into the bullpen early.
baseball. Yeah, baseball. You could get, that would be quick. You could get embarrassed. Um, football, you get embarrassed because like if you lined up against Aaron Donald, like you're going to the hospital. B, they're like, well, this guy has no clue what he's doing out here on
I
this
would never
field.
line. I would never line up against someone voluntarily who plays with knives in the off season for fun.
That's so crazy that he does
I,
that.
I know. I would.
Like,
I would never like. That's insane.
just working on my hands, coach. And
That's
like,
another
why? Like, why
video.
are you using knives, man?
Yeah, that's another video I'd say for anyone listening. You gotta look that up. It's crazy seeing that
So
guy
nuts.
practicing against knives.
Like, you're insane if you do that. But whatever. So okay, so we agree. Baseball, you get
Yeah,
embarrassed the
yeah,
most,
definitely.
and you say golf. I would okay. I'd agree. Yeah, golf. I guess. Yeah, but golf, you could get embarrassed like real
Oh
quick.
yeah,
Like
don't.
you
Okay,
slice one into the woods.
I don't want people to think that I'm trying to say that's the easiest sport because it's
No,
not. It's one of the most difficult. I'm saying if you give me throughout 18 holes, I have to at least put up a stat line. Like there's probably one hole that I might have the best hole of my life and go 2 or 3 over against these guys, and they'll be like, okay, like whatever. At least that's not horrific. But every at bat in baseball, I would be embarrassed. Like I
the
would
only thing with
struck out
the only thing
so
with golf
quickly.
though that would be real embarrassing is like if you had a par three like at the U.S. Open, and the par three was like 220 yards, and you like guys are hitting like 6 irons into this, and you're like, I'm just gonna pull out the driver. you're smacking a driver into a par three. That's where it gets embarrassing. Like just
Yeah.
uh yeah, okay. Yeah, that's fun. Okay, that's good. That's good. Um let's see what else do we got here. Ryan Miller, goalie for the Anaheim Ducks, announced that at the end of this year he will be retiring, which is only what, like 2 weeks from now. Is the end
Yeah.
of the week. So
Timing on that was it's pretty interesting, but yeah,
yeah.
2 weeks from now.
By the way, guys, in 2 weeks I'll play my last game. Okay, cool. But reason I wrote this down is Ryan Miller was so good at
I
one
was
point.
I'm so glad you just said that because I that's what I was gonna say. People forget that guy was probably the best goalie in the league for what would you say between 3 to 5 years?
For probably like 3 years, he was probably the
Yeah,
best.
yeah. Like, and it was then when he wasn't, it was close still. Like he was dominant.
Yeah.
And I know most people know him now, especially depending on what age is listening to this for the golden goal, right? He was in net for the
Mhm.
US. But he's an Olympic silver medalist, a Vesna winner. Like the guy has a good resume and he had an incredible career. I think he's 14th all time in wins, right?
He's
First
the
among
most by an American.
yeah, first among Americans. So a pretty incredible resume and career from Ryan Miller.
But that's what people forget about that Olympics is yeah, he was on the ice and he got scored on by Crosby in the golden goal. He was the MVP of that tournament.
Yeah, it's
Wasn't
exactly.
Crosby, wasn't whoever, Ryan Miller.
I read that today and I totally forgot. And I think that's probably because being Canadian, we're caught up in like not Sidney Crosby, golden goal. Yeah, he was the tournament MVP.
Yeah. Like here's one year. I mean, he played for Buffalo. Like Buffalo was terrible.
I
Like
mean,
just awful.
they were pretty good for a lot of years, and he was there. That's when they
Right,
were
but at the
actually
end they were
good.
bad.
Yeah.
But I think they were good because of him, to be fair.
They had a pretty good team. He was there when they had trying to think, they had Briere, Drury, Talinder,
Derek
Vanek,
Roy.
the Derek, yep, Jochen Hesht, a whole bunch of guys, Efinaganov.
Like one year he had like a
Like they're awesome.
929 save percentage, 222 goals against. And then he later in his career, I mean, he was a backup at that point, but he had a 928 save percentage again. Like, I mean, he's really like a 40 years old. He's really not that bad. I mean, he hasn't had a good year this year, but he's really not that bad of a goalie anymore.
Can't
Or
blame the
still.
guy. He's playing in Anaheim though,
Yeah, it's not a good situation there.
and they also have
Um
John Gibson there. So
Hall of Famer Kurt or no?
wow, that's tough. I mean, actually, I don't know if it's tough. I think like he probably is strictly on like first among American goalies and wins. He got a Vesna. I like you said, Olympic MVP, Olympic silver medalist. I know the only thing missing, maybe some playoff success, but I'd have to 14th all time in wins. I gotta say he's probably a Hall of Famer.
I'd say he is. I mean, it, Hall of Famer's tough. Like maybe we should do that for a show too, Hall of Fame or not.
Yeah, we
Because
could.
like some guys, like I think he's a Hall of Famer because like he at one point he was the best in the world.
Yeah,
And then there's guys like Patrick Marleau. Like before Patrick Marleau broke Gordie Howe's record, I wouldn't have put him in the Hall of Fame. But now I would. Cuz like I mean, he's a guy that he's just like longevity, but when you look at his points per game there, it's actually not that good. I
it's
mean,
also
it's good, but like he was never the best player in the world, stuff like that. So like before he broke the record, I wouldn't have said he's a Hall of Famer. But in Ryan Miller's case, kind of in the same boat with Patrick Marleau because no playoff success, anything like that. But in Ryan Miller's case, he has a Vesna. He was the best in the world for a period of time. Like so, yeah, I would say he's a Hall of Famer.
yeah, that'd be a fun idea for an upcoming show. Just submitting maybe like 15 to 20 guys right now. We'll take out like the Ovechkins, the Crosbys, the Malkins. We'll submit guys like off the top of my head. This is one. What about Jason Spezza?
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah,
I
right.
go
Like
back and
there's
forth on that.
yeah, like there's a lot of guys who are on that list around at that age. They're getting where they don't. They're probably close to done. They have respectable stat lines, but have they done enough to get
Right.
in? I think we can make up we probably a good 15, 20, submit that list and see where we go with it because it's a good debate. Like there's a lot of them I'm thinking off the top of my
Eric
head right
Stahl.
now. Yeah, like he has the advantage of being a cup champion. But
Right.
yeah, that was early in his career. It's tough. Like there's a lot of ones that are really close.
Right. So yeah, we're gonna write that down. We're doing all-time MLB team, and we're doing Hall of Fame or not. That's
All
what we're
right.
doing.
We got
Um,
some good content coming up.
exactly. Um, let's talk a little bit about, and then we'll get into some picks. Man, Canada's U18 team is so good,
Hey,
so
remember
good. They have
re-
so many good players on their team.
we always have to deal with this conversation. Remember the World Juniors, they always say, "Oh, all these European countries and everyone else is catching up to Canada. They better watch out because all these young players are coming up from Finland and Sweden." It's like, come on, this is our game. Like every year I look at the U18s, how dominant Canada is, the World Juniors, we're still fantastic every year. Our Olympic team is always great. We always have new talent coming up.
Right. I remember that guy. What was his name? Clayton. Was his name Clayton? And he was like talking about how Canada is not the hockey like superpower of the world anymore, and it's like gonna be the US like within the next like 10 years. And he went on and on and on. And I was just like, dude, you're wrong. Like, no, you're wrong.
uh, yeah.
He had some wild theories about the game of hockey.
Yeah.
He would just get up there and just start spitting off. I'm like, what is this guy talking about?
I think what was that? That was last year, right?
That was last year,
Yeah.
yeah.
Was that first semester? Yeah, first semester.
That was
That's
such yeah.
I forgot about that guy. I
We had
forgot
a class
about
in college of the
history.
first century of hockey.
Yeah,
And if it
history of
sounds like a
hockey.
joke, it's because it was. Like literally my final project, the culmination of this whole semester of work I just did was debating whether Bobby or Mario Lemieux was the second best player ever.
I
That was
actually
literally my culmination.
I actually didn't get to do mine because none of my
Oh,
my
damn.
people in my group showed up. So I was like, yeah, sorry, I'm not going to do that.
I remember that. Yeah, nobody like nobody gave a fuck, and they just didn't show up at all. I got paired with this lady who was 4 times my age. Like she was so old, and I was like, this girl doesn't know what she's talking about here. But that was such a joke of a class. But yeah, he was like, oh yeah, US is going to surpass Canada. And like his theory was like kind of okay. And the fact that basically the reason the US is so good is because Canadian players live in the States. That's literally what he said. Because his point was like, look at Brett Hall, right? Brett Hall really should be Canadian, but he's American because he was born in the States because Bobby Hall was playing in the States. Same with Zach Parisi, which is such a douchebag of a move to do, is to be like, my name is actually Parisi. And it's like, no, it's Parise. Okay, that's your name. I have called him Parise like intentionally from that day that he was like, that's not my name. I'm like, yeah, it is, dude.
Yeah, there's a lot of examples like that. I'm trying to think, isn't like this isn't the US, Canada, but like isn't William Nylander born in Canada, but he's Swedish, right?
But he says he's Swedish. Yeah.
Yeah, like the so there's lots of examples, I guess, because guys come over and depending on where he played. Oh, it's like if you're, I know this is
Paul
baseball, but
Stastny,
yeah, it's like
he's American, but his dad's what, Czech or something? I think
yeah,
so.
yeah.
So it's just like stuff like that.
Igor
Like basically the
Stastny.
US just steals all everyone else's good players. Basically how
It's
that
just
works.
because they're playing like their fathers are playing down here for a team in the States, and then they're born here while their fathers are playing, and then obviously they're American.
Yeah. But um so I mean that was his theory, but my argument is that no, Canadians do not make up whatever it was, like 70% of the league anymore. But when it's like one of those things, like, but when you look at like the very fringes, I think, of the game, where you go to the top, like even the top, like 10%, I would suspect, I want to know, actually, we should do this. If you were to look at the top 10 percent of points leaders in the NHL from year to year, how many of them are Canadian? And I bet that's 70%. I bet 70% of the top point leaders are Canadian still.
Do you want me to
Like I'm
tell you?
thinking like
Do you want me to tell you like the top 10 right now? And
give me the
we'll
top 10 and we'll say who's Canadian.
okay. Just give me a sec here. All right, so I'll read off the top 10 scores in the league.
Okay.
So we got McDavid,
Bing,
Draisaitl, McKinnon,
bing,
Marner, Kane,
bing.
Matthews, Marchand, Huberdeau, Panarin, Crosby.
Those are the top 10.
Yeah.
6 of them are Canadian.
Yeah. So almost bang on like 60% okay.
Yeah.
But then the next two are, and actually, so Stone is tied with Crosby. Stone's Canadian, if I'm not mistaken, isn't he?
Yes.
And so is Shifley.
So there you go.
Those are the next two.
So I'm not far off with saying that.
Yeah, and
So,
that's if we extended this list, like you're probably right. It probably is about 70%.
so like when you look at the Olympics or you look at World Juniors, that's why Canada's always still near the top. Like if the US was that good or these other countries were really that good or better than Canada or Canada wasn't as good, Canada wouldn't be, always second or third or even winning in the World Juniors or winning in the Olympics. Like in a best on best tournament, I would walk down to the bank and I would say to the teller, "Can I have every single dollar out of my bank account?" And they go, "Yeah." And then I would take that money and I would bet on Canada because Canada is by far the best team, no question, when you do a best on best tournament.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree, and that's why it was a wild theory he came up with, and
Yeah.
I just we haven't seen looking at this roster, like you have possibilities of three players on this team being first overall picks in 3 different years. Dylan Guenther from the Oil Kings in WHL this year.
Mm-hmm.
Next year, is
Shane
that's
Wright.
Shane Wright, and then the
No
year
question.
after,
He's going number
yeah,
one.
he's going, and then no question, pretty much the next year, following year from Regina, Connor Bedard. So like you can't tell me that Canada's falling off or anything. Like that's insane amount of talent, 3 straight years.
Right. I think
Combined with the talent they already have currently playing in the NHL and in the minors.
I mean, yeah, I don't even know where this guy got his theory from. For the last 100 years, the best player in the world has always been Canadian. When you really think about it, McDavid,
Uh,
Crosby, uh,
I'm sure we could
or
go
I
back.
mean, you might say
Like,
Yager.
yeah, like there was Yager. Honestly, I would say for a few years, like a couple of years, Ovechkin probably was the best player. And like when Crosby was hurt, you could even say Malkin was for a little bit. Like, yeah, like obviously if Crosby was fully healthy in those years, I probably would say he still was. And you could still make the case, but like when Ovechkin was scoring 65 goals and 120 points, like it was hard to say it wasn't him at the time. Remember they were saying Datsuk was for a little while too.
Yeah, those people were crazy though.
And
Those
like
people were crazy.
people even said Giroux and Stamkos here and there, but I think overall, yeah, like it's been McDavid. Before that, it was Crosby, and then
And then before that, I guess, yeah, you could say Yager was the best. But then before that, it was Lemieux, and it was
yeah,
Gretzky, and it was whoever, Phil Esposito, and then Bobby Orr, and like just
Gordie
keep on
Howe,
going. They're all Canadians.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, so this Canada U18 team is just ridiculous. Another generation of just exceptional Canadian players. Um, Connor Bedard is sweet. I mean, the guy, 15 years old, like
yeah.
15 years old, and this guy would undress me on the ice. Like
He's
he would,
just he's dominating a league of 18, 19-year-olds at 15. It's incredible.
yeah. And then Shane Wright. It's a shame that Shane Wright, we couldn't see him play because of COVID. But again, he's just. I think Shane Wright's the next one. I think Shane Wright. It will go McDavid and then Wright. I think that's how good he is.
Yeah,
But we'll see. Again,
time will
um,
tell.
time will tell. So what do we got on the plate for Friday night or this weekend's games, Kurt? What are your picks?
Actually, before I say this, I just want to say I was 4 for 4 on the Wednesday picks from the
Wow,
Wednesday show. So
good for you.
so if you guys get ready for another four here, because it's gonna be another CLP.
Little
But I'm
CLP
gonna I'm gonna
action.
go Jets are at Montreal. I'll take the Jets. We're gonna go to the association here. I'll take the Utah Jazz over the Phoenix Suns. Phoenix just clinched a playoff spot last night. That's the 1 and the 2 seeds. That should be a good game. I'm gonna go Utah. Um, let's go to baseball here. I got Mets over the Phillies. Give me the Mets, and give me the Dodgers at the Brewers.
I like the picks. As always, let's see if you can go 4-0 again.
Let's see. We're
Um, I got a full slate for you this weekend.
love that.
Friday night. I think these are Friday night games. Yeah, I think these are Friday nights. I'm doing a parlay action. I'm taking take the Yankees over the Tigers with Garrett Cole on the mound, as well as taking that same parlay, take Cleveland over the White Sox. Shane Bieber is on the mound for them.
He's
Then moving on,
fantastic.
he's so good.
It's
Moving
really
on
good.
to the ice, we got the Coyotes. I got them taking out the Golden Knights. I'm taking the
Okay.
underdog.
Okay.
Taking the underdog there. And then Kurt, this might start a fight. I'm taking the Penguins over the Capitals. How do you feel about that?
That's a sat on the Saturday game. Well,
Yeah.
I like honestly, we have no Carlson and Ovechkin right now, so that could be trouble for us, but we'll see. We play like obviously we're recording on Thursday. We play tonight without those guys. We'll see how that goes. But I think
Mm-hmm.
they're without Malkin as well. So not quite these teams aren't quite at full health, but this is some very important upcoming games for us. Could pretty much clinch, I think, the division if we can get at least 3 points in these two games.
Right on. And then I'm also going to take the Wild over the Blues. The Wild have just been so good all
Yeah,
year.
they've been us really they're not talked about a ton. They're a sneaky good team though. Like
Mm-hmm.
I almost feel like they could cause someone some first round issues, but we'll see. I love Kaprasov. Just he's been great all year. Fiala's good, so I'm okay with that pick. I like that.
All right. Right on. Well, okay. So we got to remember this MLB all time team, and then we got Hall of Fame or not. We're gonna write those down. We're gonna do them eventually. Um, thank you everybody again for listening to Taking All Bets. If you haven't already, obviously hit like, hit subscribe, rate the show, do all that. And we will be back Monday.
Yep, Monday.
All right. See you everybody.